Surprise me.
Nerds roll.
Oh, my glasses are broken.
Surprise me.
My pocket is protected.
Surprise me.
I am a super nerd.
Surprise me.
Okay.
Excelsior!
I am a super nerd.
The Nerd School Podcast.
Starring Andy.
I am a former entertainment journalist.
I am a super nerd.
TBJ.
Hi, this is Tiffany. You may hear me be referred to as TBJ.
TBJ, y'all.
I am what I like to call a surprise nerd.
Artstar.
My name is Artstar, and I am an artist.
Yo, my name is Joe, and I am the nerd student. The nerd pupil, if you will. We're back with another episode of Nerd School. I gotta go to Nerd School because I'm not a nerd enough. I am the student.
And my three teachers are the secret nerd, TBJ.
Hello, hello.
The ninja nerd, Artstar. Art the Dark Star. What is it?
Welcome.
Yeah, there you go. And super nerd Andy.
I believe it was just Artstar. He was discussing the dark side of the Force earlier, which I believe has confused you mentally.
Oh, thank you for correcting.
Exactly.
Thank you for nerd-splaining it to me.
That's right. I'm nerd schooling about nerd school.
And let's just jump right back into the Incredible Hulk, because that's where we left off last time. Last time we were right at the beginning, and we got to Stan Lee's cameo, but we were about to just get to the part where, you know, Ross finds out he gets the call about that they found the contamination in America, and Ross quickly orders a team down to, was it Brazil? Is that where they were?
Brazil. Yep.
Brazil. And the team that Ross puts together is headed up by the Russian-born but American-trained Emil Blonsky, played by Tim Roth. And so this is, you guys don't even have to tell me, I figured this out. This is a comic book character. Emil Blonsky is in the comics, and he's Abomination, correct?
Correct.
Good job.
They mentioned that when Tim Roth Tim Blake Nelson, aka Sam Stearns, you better recognize, creates him later. He says, "Oh, I'm willing to do what you want me to do, but the result could be an abomination." That's when they actually dropped the name.
In the movie you're talking about.
In the movie, yes.
Yeah, you're talking about the movie. Okay, good.
But that's later.
But this is Emil Blonsky is the name of the regular comic book character. There's not a lot different in this.
Well, he's plenty different. I mean, he's a KGB spy in the comics named Emil Blonsky, who's but what's the same about him is that he was obsessed with getting the Hulk power and getting more powerful than the Hulk, which he was in his first appearances. The whole point, I believe, where did I read this? Stan Lee wanted to create someone stronger and bigger than the Hulk to have a lot of fun with him, and he beat the Hulk in their first appearance, which is what.
Stan Lee created Abomination in order to have something tougher than.
Yeah, just like a bigger, uglier Hulk is. Okay. What's another thing the Hulk could fight? And Gil Kane was the artist that created him as well. Stan Lee and Gil Kane did that while writing the Hulk. In 1967, he first showed up in Tales to Astonish, number 90.
1967. Okay, so this is an old-ass character.
Yes, but that's still like a good 5 years after the Hulk was created.
What did you say, Artstar?
Most of these characters are old.
Yeah, most of them are. Yeah, I guess they are.
But the heyday of Marvel Comics was the 60s, when everything was created that is enduring.
But Abomination isn't necessarily known as Hulk's arch enemy. Like, he's not like the enemy you think of, or is he?
No, that would most likely be the leader, who is implied at the end of this movie.
Who we'll get to. Yeah, we'll get to him. Yeah,
right. He's the super genius who views the Hulk as his arch enemy. But Abomination has done some nasty shit to the Hulk, including in the comics he later murdered Betty Ross, or Betty Banner, who was his wife at the time,
Oh, really?
through radiation poisoning.
Wait, so the Hulk gets married in the comics? He
yeah.
marries Betty Ross?
Yeah.
She becomes Betty Banner? Do they have
Yes.
like a wedding and everything? Like a special
did.
episode of Friends
did.
with a wedding or whatever it is?
Yeah.
They're not going to let them get married without it being special, even in comic book world.
Now,
Absolutely.
do all the weddings in comic book world get destroyed by enemies and fights? Or is there just
Most
a whole
often
episode
it's
that's like a wedding issue?
It's
Is
a
that-
lot like
it's a
professional
wedding
wrestling.
issue.
It's a lot like professional wrestling. If you have a wedding in professional wrestling, some bad guy's going to crash it and ruin everything. It's
think
kind of the same thing here. They actually made a lot of fun of it. One of the main writers in the Hulk's history was Peter David, a guy who wrote him for at least 12 years and has been on and off writing him ever since. He did the wedding issue, and he was very into doing meta jokes and stuff like that. So they made a lot of fun about how they were expecting supervillains to crash it, and it was basically played as a comedy issue, but they did wind up getting married.
How often are there comedy issues? This isn't something I've heard of.
Sure. Sometimes, yeah. It depends on who's writing it. Sometimes you got your writers who are all dark and gritty and serious all the time. But a lot of times, especially in a long run of comic books, especially a 12-year run, if you do like one big dramatic story arc, you might take a breather for a couple issues just to do some goofy things. I mean,
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you guys as nerds, do you get mad about it? Are you guys like, oh, I wasted a whole issue buying this as just a comedy issue?
No,
if you like
No,
it,
I
if
don't
you
think
like
you
it.
think it
If you
of
like
it
it, you
as
don't
just
care.
a comedy. Yeah, is another issue with your character. We're not reading or tuning in for these hardcore stories. We're tuning in for the character we are identifying with or rooting for, or wanting to know more about. So if it's a lighthearted issue, it's just another part of that character. And if we're
Okay.
down with the character, we're down with the issue.
Yeah, it's character development. And
Yeah.
sometimes you make room for goofball characters like Squirrel Girl or the Fabulous Frogman, or you can get all sorts of weirdo guys that are a lot of fun.
What the hell are those? Squirrel
Those
Girl
are Marvel Comics characters.
that are just like joke characters, or in
They
one
started
issue?
out that way. They started out as joke characters, but Squirrel Girl has gotten, like, within the
Yeah, I was
last
about to
10
say.
years or so, her profile has kind of gone up.
Squirrel
She's-
Girl.
Yeah, she can communicate with squirrels. Her name is Doreen Green. She walks around in a kind of a squirrel costume, and not a full squirrel costume, but she has a big bushy tail. And she's
You guys,
very,
you guys have all heard of this Squirrel Girl?
Don't they do a nod to her on Big Bang? Isn't there a nod to her on Big Bang Theory episode?
possibly, I haven't watched nearly enough of that show.
Andy's against Big Bang Theory.
I'm not against it, but I sat down once to watch it in syndication. I watched like 6 episodes straight through, and I think I laughed maybe twice. And,
I
Not a
like
fan.
it.
But did you say? I thought you had a good quote. Like you were like, "That is what non-nerds think nerds are," but you don't.
That
think
is
it's
true.
yeah, it's kind of like a
It's written by
nerd show
non-nerds.
for people who aren't nerds.
Yeah.
Whereas an actual nerd show, like a show for nerds, would be something like weird, like Community or something like that.
Gosh, we really get off the
100% right.
topic fast.
Yeah.
Artstar, I got to ask you, what about Squirrel Girl? Have you heard of Squirrel Girl?
Yeah, Squirrel Girl, she's been on the what did you call that thing we were talking about last episode? The not the New Mutants, the Marvel Heroes Rising.
Yeah, that's a recent
Yeah,
cartoon.
she's on it. Yeah, she's on there like
That's a cartoon show?
yeah,
It's a show?
trying like Miss Marvel or like best buds.
Okay, let me ask you this, Artstar. If you go to a comic convention and you see a lovely lady dressed as Squirrel Girl,
Mhm.
and then a lovely lady dressed as, I don't know, Batwoman, or no, Catgirl. Catwoman? No, what is it?
That woman.
What's the main, who's like the hot one that Michelle Pfeiffer was?
That was Catwoman,
Catwoman.
although there is a Catgirl and
Catwoman.
Batwoman.
Yeah.
Whatever the supposedly the hottest chick superhero is.
Squirrel Girl doesn't. Squirrel Girl would be like comparing apples to oranges when you come to like Catwoman and
It does?
Yeah, Squirrel
it's
Girl
like-
is generally a younger character. I think she's
Yeah.
Oh, it's like a child?
No, a
she's like
teenager.
teen-
She
she's
started
teen-
as a
But even
teenager.
still, even still, she's not.
dating
she's not-
teenagers.
She's not even like her
It's not
character. Well, like yeah, even if she was an adult, her character is almost portrayed as she's like Amy from Big
Naive,
Bang.
Yeah, she's a
naive and innocent
Yeah.
for the most part.
Amy
Yeah.
from what? Oh,
Big Bang.
Big Bang. Back to Big Bang again.
She's very like naive and earnest and forthright, but kind of goofy. She was in a team.
She's not like hot sexy.
I mean, it depends. It depends on like any character can be made to be hot.
Listen, I was about to say, have you tuned into Halloween for the last 10 years? You can turn anything
true.
into a sexy
everything's
costume.
sexy. Oh, it's a sexy Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Everything is a
Right.
sexy. Yeah.
I think now she's like in her.
Your best bet to try to compare someone if you just be like Catwoman versus maybe a Harley Quinn or a Poison Ivy. Then you could have like an opportunity to say, well, which one would you think is hotter, Catwoman or Poison Ivy, or Catwoman and Harley Quinn?
Yeah, but Squirrel Girl is like.
I just can't believe there's a Squirrel Girl. Is there a comic book? She's in the cartoon and there's a comic book?
Oh, yeah. She's had her own series, The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. There's been a running joke that she can actually beat everyone in the Marvel Universe, including Doctor Doom and Thanos, but they don't talk about it, and she's not, like, super ambitious like that.
Yeah.
But that's just to tweak nerds. Sometimes nerds, like writers, like, try to get nerds to take things a little less seriously and say things like, oh my god, Squirrel Girl just beat Thanos. You didn't see it, but it happened off panel, but that's Thanos. It's the real one. And that's just to make nerds go, no, Thanos can be her.
I have one more question about, like, so you got, now I've learned, here's some things I've already learned on this episode. I've learned that there are wedding episodes, there are comedy episodes that are just different. Are those type of, I guess they're not episodes, they're issues, right?
Yeah.
I guess, are those type of things, issues worth more money because they're different, or are they just about the same or less? Or it depends.
It depends. Comic book value is often determined on whose first appearance is in that, or who the creators are, which characters, like the first appearance of, or the first full appearance. Because sometimes,
even if it's not that character's comic. So if it's Thor and there's a first appearance of Squirrel Girl and a Thor, that one's worth more because.
Yeah, the Incredible Hulk 181, I believe, is the first appearance of Wolverine, and so that's a big.
That's worth a lot of money.
Yeah,
like that mint condition issue is worth a lot of money.
Yeah.
When you say a lot of money, like
I don't
$100 or like
I have not
10,000?
followed that in
$100
many years.
Yeah,
$100 is not a lot of money.
To me, it is. Mr. Moneybags.
I'm just saying, if you like, you probably won't get a good copy of 181 for $100.
Really?
Yeah.
What is it, like 10 grand? I'm just throwing that. You don't have to look it up. I mean,
I just did.
Oh.
In perfect graded condition, Incredible Hulk 181 can sell for over $15,000.
So there you are.
And the record sale for this comic has been $23,000.
What?
That's in perfect condition.
Yeah, but who's buying it?
Nerds with money.
Collector.
I was about to say, yeah.
The collector. That's an evil comic book guy, right? Is that
Yeah,
like a character villain?
He's in the movies. He's Benicio del Toro. He's the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Oh, that's right. I remember that guy now. Okay, well, we'll get to that. Okay, back to the movie, and I never even got to my question that Tim Roth plays him, and I wanted to ask, do you guys does everybody like this choice? Are nerds happy? Are they upset? Is he too different than the comics, or does he fit right in, or is it a perfect idea?
I think he's fine.
He's
Abomination is not like. He's a famous character, but I wouldn't say he's one of the most beloved villains ever. He's sort of been
territorial
like
about it.
After his first few appearances where he was stronger than the Hulk, he has gotten beaten a lot, so much to the point where he actually became afraid of the Hulk because he kept losing to him. And he's been through a few permutations as, for a while he was just, the big brute or the Russian spy. And then they gave him a tragic story or a tragic angle where he was married to this woman named Nadia, that he could never go back and see her again because he was trapped in the form of the Abomination. He couldn't turn back and forth.
Oh, yeah, because he doesn't turn back, right? Once he became Abomination, he's Abomination.
As far as we know, yeah. We haven't seen him change back, I don't think.
So in the movie, did he end up killing him at the end of this? Spoiler alert. They stopped him from killing him, right? He was about to, and she was like, "Stop!"
Right.
Right.
Why would they want to keep that monster alive if he can't? Well, they don't know at this point. He can't turn back.
Yeah, this is the second movie, and they probably don't want to kill anybody off. I mean, I was surprised they killed off Jeff Bridges at the end of Iron Man. But
so does Abomination that doesn't come back in all the other Avengers movies or anything that we know?
He has not appeared since. Although there was a Marvel one-shot. They did a series of short films to try to that were like DVD bonus features when these DVDs were released. There was one called The Consultant that basically is an epilogue to this movie.
Yeah, which you made us all watch. Did we all watch it? Did we all do our homework?
I did.
I did not do my homework.
totally-
I rebelled.
For me, it totally made the I don't want to say the deleted scene, the before credit scene.
Yeah.
It made that make a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, it really made that make sense too. So, but what I wondered is the idea of this, what's it called, a Marvel one shot?
Yeah.
Do people know about these? And they're just online,
yeah.
and people. But they're not like advertised.
They haven't made one in a while. I think the last one they made was after Iron Man 3, which was a way, just like this one was kind of a way to, these are sort of nerd focused. This one was sort of nerds going, why is Tony Stark doing this when he's not in that? And then Iron Man 2, the chronology is different. And they sort of made this little thing that's just to explain that cameo at the end of Incredible Hulk.
When did they make this one shot? Way later, when they decided, what we did there didn't fit in, or did they plan on doing this all along? I guess is my question.
I can't remember which DVD it was on, but usually it's like a couple movies later they'll do a little short film. There's another Marvel one shot where it's just Agent Coulson kind of kicking ass in defeating a robbery at a supermarket on his way to go see about Thor's hammer. There's one shot about a couple of people who find some alien technology after the Avengers invasion and are trying to cash in on it, and then they get recruited to be S.H.I.E.L.D. agents instead because they're very resourceful.
Okay.
Lizzie Kaplan is in that, if you know her. And then the last one they made, there might be one or two more, but the last one they made was after Iron Man 3, when nerds kind of flipped out about the treatment of the Mandarin, and they sort of implied...
You're getting ahead of...
Yeah.
I'm not smart enough to follow all this. We'll get to that when we get to Iron Man 3. Let's back to this movie. So we got Tim Roth as Emil Blonsky. He's also definitely, you can tell by some of his mannerisms, he's definitely the same character from Pulp Fiction, because he says honey bunny a couple times.
No. No. Stop trying to make this thing a thing.
I will make it, TBJ.
No.
Okay,
but Abomination is different in the comics. Like in the comics, he has like these weird fish fins and gills on his face. He looks like the creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, right.
And it was that was kind of like the signature look of the Abomination. So I think some people were like, why does he just look like a weird green bald guy with spikes on his back? Because he looks a little different, and like the color they decided on was a much sicklier green than the Abomination generally is. But he's still just a big green monster, and that's all you really needed.
But this is the first time, and I think you alluded to this, but this is the only time Emil Blonsky is he's working with the U.S. He's not, like other ones, he's a spy. This one, he's a trained.
Yeah, I mean,
he
has worked, like General Ross in the comics is like single-minded obsessed with the Hulk, which is, you kind of see that in this movie.
So
but
you can see it in the movie.
And he's fine, like,
can.
Even after the Abomination showed up, General Ross was fine with working with supervillains to get the Hulk.
Right. He doesn't care who it is, just get him.
Yeah.
So
he's a bit myopic about
Because he
that.
wants that
we don't
super
know.
serum.
As the audience, like he could be a evil, like he could be a KGB, and we just don't know. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, well, they I'm sure they have a file on him. He was, what did he say, Russian-born, raised in England, which is why he has an accent.
Right.
And so yeah, he's a shady character that the U.S. military would work with for their own ends.
Do you think Russian actors are mad that they picked a British guy, kind of like in the '60s? You know, like Hispanic actors would get mad because white people play Hispanic people or whatever else. You know,
60s? You mean
Maybe.
last year?
or now? Yeah, I guess now. Yeah, I've been reading about a lot.
There are plenty of English actors who play Americans all the time, and
yeah, that's true.
there are a million American actors who can do roles.
I can't believe when that guy from what's that motorcycle guy's show?
Steve McQueen,
No,
Sons of Anarchy.
American
the-
Chopper.
the guy Ron Perlman is in it.
Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy. I couldn't believe it when I found out the main guy was British. I was like, that guy, like he's such white trash, like American. He does a great job of doing the white.
They
trash.
do a heck of an American accent.
Hell yeah, they're really good at it.
Idris Elba is British.
That's true. Yeah,
We have a lot of
And
Australian
Idris Elba,
actors.
his American. It reminds me of Liam Neeson and what's his name, Gerard Butler. Like they're like those guys that Joe would love, just because their American accents are always the same. Like
Right,
I hear
but it's
Idris
always
Elba, all I hear is
interesting.
Stringer Bell from The
Yeah,
Wire.
but if you had, there's so many people who have no idea that he
Right.
was even English. I don't know
Right.
what came out in the last year or two, and he was talking
Yeah.
in an interview, and there were people around me going, "Wait, he what?"
yeah. I didn't know it till I heard him speak. Yeah,
There are a
Something in
lot
the interview.
of actors who are not American who sound great, and we don't sound good when we have English accents.
Yeah,
but
that's true. But
They-
he is Idris Elba. Speaking to him, he is recovered, right? He had
Yes.
COVID-19, and he's recovered, as far as we know.
it is.
I don't know if he might have been an asymptomatic carrier. I don't know. He seemed to say, "I'm feeling fine." I don't know if he ever got sick.
Yeah,
Oh, he might not have ever got
he
sick.
didn't get to Tom Hanks sick or some of the more major
Okay.
people.
Yeah, it's crazy. What a crazy thing we're talking about, huh? Who would have ever thought? Okay, so back to the movie, and Honey Bunny is in there, and we're all okay with it. And Ross explains who the target is, and that he'll be a fighter if he's cornered. And they fly down to Brazil, and Blue and Bruce are continuing to talk, and Blue is saying, "We need to get your blood to be sure." And Bruce sends him the blood. And that night, while Bruce is sleeping, Rick starts barking, and the commandos blow off the door, and they trank the dog, which is terrible. And then they try to shoot Banner, but he's not in his bed. He's already escaped. And then there's a big chase, and he's running away, and he hides with that hot lady he works with. But then they chase him down he gets to the factory. Oh, and the bad guys from the factory join in the chase for some reason. I guess they just had to have, they just had to have somebody for Hulk to beat.
He had to be stuck between a rock and a hard place.
Yeah. And they, what? That's actually smart. Like, I think, like, they created those guys and established that they're assholes that we hate. And then they got the shit kicked out of them. And it was like, yay, they're dead, but it's not the real bad guys yet. But it was just like a little precursor, right?
And they're probably not actually dead if they make such a big deal about the Hulk not killing anybody at the end.
Oh, yeah. He's
So
just
they're probably, I mean,
Probably
yeah, and in comic book movies, humans can survive a lot crazier things than they usually do. Like in The Dark Knight, at one point, the Two-Face intentionally causes a car wreck that flips over and over while he's in the car. Like he shoots the driver, and then the car wrecks, and he's fine.
He's fine, yeah.
Yeah,
Movie magic.
yeah, and like so many of the crazy car damage and traffic damage that happens in the in like Age of Ultron, like a lot of the big Avengers fights. There's so much, like those guys, all those people probably died back there, but they don't in comic book movies.
Please don't talk about it, yeah. Because it's like a comic book. You don't deal with all that.
Yeah, which is why the big bit when the Hulk does face Tim Roth in his human form later and actually like nearly kills him. It's a strong moment.
strong-
Like,
yeah.
oh wow, he messed that guy up.
So anyway, they chase the Hulk into the factory, and then he ends up finally telling him, "You won't, don't make me angry or whatever. You won't like me when I'm angry." And he tries. It was just "me angry very bad" in Portuguese. But they chase him anyway, and it's actually like they do that moment where his eyes turn green like Bill Bixby, and he's very shadowy. That moment where the shoe drops, I can't remember how that happens. Like once he turns into a monster, and then the shoe falls, and you can't really see him. You don't really get a good look at the monster. And I love this whole thing. I thought it was really well done. I was very excited about it. I was like, they got me really excited about it. I can't wait till I actually see it. Like, that was done so well, so reminiscent of the old Hulk with the Bill Bixby green eyes kind of looking up. And
Is that the first time? Is that the feeling you had when you first watched it, or when you was watching the rewatch?
well, this time too, I did, because I didn't remember watching it. Like, I don't remember.
So you were excited to see him.
I was excited. Yeah, I couldn't wait, and I was like, "Oh yeah, this is so great!" Oh, and then now I'm like in anticipation of actually seeing Hulk. Like good, since you only see bits and pieces of it. It's like a shadow, and it just something about it makes it more realistic. Like it leaves so much to your imagination. It's like a. Sometimes I think sex scenes are sexier when you don't see everything. You kind of still have a picture of everything. This was sexier because it's like it's scarier too, because you don't know what this is.
Right.
Nobody knows what this is, and so I just thought it was really well done. I don't know. What did you guys think?
Yeah, I like the bit where you can hear him talk at first, because like in the 2003 Hulk movie, he only ever said one thing, and that was in a dream sequence. And I guess at the end he yells at Nick Nolte, but it's in this one, like you can hear him before he even attacks anybody. He just says, "Leave me alone."
Oh yeah, okay.
Ooh. Which is in comics would normally be "Leave Hulk alone," because they don't have him talk in the third person like that, which is fine, because that works better for comics than it does for a movie.
Well, and he's not really named Hulk yet at this point. Like he doesn't.
I think he is. He's only named the Hulk because people call him that. Like,
he's a Hulk, but that's why I don't think he says it here. I don't think he says it till the last scene, and then he says Hulk smash or whatever.
Yeah.
Because people have said it on the news. Oh, he was a Hulk of the man or whatever it is.
Right. But "Leave me alone" is basically the mantra of the Hulk. Much of his history was all he wants is to be left alone, and no one will leave him alone because they want his power, or they think he's a monster that needs to be killed, or they want to manipulate him and do something with him and get something from him. He just wants to be left alone.
I feel that energy on a big level.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, he's not trying to hurt anybody. He's not trying to smash, but if you cross him, he will smash you.
People say I have an attitude, and if you just leave me be and let me do what I'm supposed to do.
I told you, I used to always tell people, like, I'm the nicest person in the world. And it's like, I used to always say, like, don't make me mad. Like, if you make me mad, all you're going to do is make me angry. And if I get angry, you won't like me. Like, I go 0 to 100 quick.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm not trying not to get angry, because I know if I get angry, I'm going to go off. I'm going to Hulk out.
Listen, I've gotten so angry that I can feel my blood boil. Like, I can feel it on the inside. And it is not healthy.
Right.
And so I work very hard not to get very angry, but I do like to just generally stay like, let's not do this.
Don't even get there. Yeah.
It's not worth the energy, because like Hulk, I'm also very tired after I've been very angry. Like, I am exhausted, and I don't even have to do anything. It's just letting my body get to that level of anger. So I get the Hulk on an emotional level. You're just trying to live and exist and stay under the radar.
And you don't even want to get to that state. You want to just be like, go through life doing whatever. Like, and then someone wants to piss you off, and it's like, now you done gone and done it. You done made me mad. I want you. You brought this on yourself.
Yeah.
You know it. They're looking at you differently because, like, whoa, I didn't know you had that in you. Like, yeah, you know.
Well, this
sometimes
is good.
it gets them to stop, doing what they do. But
yeah, I think this is just it. This is why people like the Hulk. He's relatable. It's a relatable emotion. Like, everybody has that stuff where it's like, you're not listening to me. I am getting pissed. Like, everybody gets like that sometimes.
It's at its core. I think it's like a lot of things in superhero dome that you could say are an adolescent power fantasy, but the Hulk is exactly that. It's someone that gets picked on, and flips out, but actually then has the power to end his torment and turn it back on bullies. I think that's a very core element of his appeal. But even then, even when he does that, it also shows that if you inflict violence on the people tormenting you, it's not going to stop. People are still going to chase you and hound you all the time. So leave me alone is the appropriate response as opposed to continuing a cycle of violence. It's
sort of like how even in this movie how Emil gets, just like he's bloodthirsty. Like the idea of the Hulk, I think, turns him on.
Oh, yeah.
So adamant about just going after him, because he's like excited.
But you can see it in this chase scene. Like, you see him going rogue a couple of times in this chase scene. So you already see it alluding to the fact that he is not one to follow the rules and instructions. Like, it's foreshadowing a little bit later of when he turns into the Abomination. Like, you can see early on, he's like, damn this, I'm going to do it how I want to do it. Right. Even when he's getting instructions like, no, watch out, don't. He's still going. So you can see his thirst for like, oh no, I'm going after this. And you can see it.
Pretty much in any of those type movies where you have like the so-called team of good people who's supposed to be looking out for the American people or whatever people they're looking out for when they unleash a quote-unquote villain / person who's on their side, to just end up going super rogue. And then they're like, okay, we let the Tasmanian devil loose. Can we actually control them? Do we care if we can control them? Not just, try to use the other team against them and destroy them.
Yeah, it's this pursuit of power and control of power, which they never can actually control the power.
No, but that doesn't stop them from being so thirsty and chasing.
Especially Thunderbolt.
Yeah, Thunderbolt Ross is all about that. And in the comics, eventually he just becomes a Hulk himself because he wants that power so bad.
Yeah.
He becomes the Red Hulk. That's a whole different thing. But Blonsky wants that power. And
wait, who becomes the Red Hulk? Oh, no. Thunderbolt becomes the Red Hulk?
Yeah, in the comics he becomes the Red Hulk. After 30-odd years of comics of being obsessed with capturing the Hulk.
Supposedly, Marvel has been slowly but surely hinting at it, because then there's like the one scene where his hand's red, and then like later on in movies, I guess at one point in time he says he has a heart attack and he came back, and it's like there are like scenes, there are different movies with him where he's actually younger than he actually was in this movie, but yet it's further along. So they're thinking like maybe, he already has like the serum in him.
Huh. Like in Ross's later appearances in like Civil War and Infinity War and Endgame and all that.
Oh, really?
I haven't caught that, but I'm
gonna watch to catch it.
Yeah. Now we gotta keep an eye out for that when we watch those.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay, great. And then the Gray Hulk. Did we already talk about the Gray Hulk?
I could explain. We probably did when we messed it up the first time. But I can tell you the Gray Hulk story in a nutshell, which was kind of the reason I became a real big Hulk fan, because I wasn't a huge Hulk fan as a child because I had a really bad nightmare about Lou Ferrigno decapitating my mother.
Oh, no.
I remember that.
With a car. He threw an automobile and that was like one of the worst nightmares I ever had. And also I thought the Hulk's underoos were stupid. Because every other Underoos he had, like, it was the thing that's on the hero's chest. The Spider-Man, the little spider. Superman had the S. Aquaman had his Aquaman shirt. The Hulk was just a white shirt with a little picture of the Hulk on the chest. And I was like, those are dumb. But
it should have been his torso.
Yeah, just you are a green shirt with sick abs. That's what it should have been.
That's what it is now.
Yes, that's what it should be, and it probably is that now. But the Gray Hulk, when I found out that there was like a third personality, they sort of this was when he was first created, he was gray. In the first issue, he was gray, and he only changed into the Hulk at night. It was like a werewolf kind of story.
Okay.
But that changed pretty quickly, and when they went to the Green Hulk, because I think they ink costs for green ink were cheaper than doing the gray thing.
Yeah, so with some color match mishap, I guess.
Yeah, it was they were still figuring things out. It was the 60s Marvel Comics. I think they just decided, let's make him green instead because it's cheaper.
Everyone was on LSD.
That too. But then eventually they brought the Grey Hulk back as a separate aspect of Bruce Banner's personality, which is the Green Hulk is the repressed childhood trauma, anger, rage, frustration, and then the Grey Hulk was basically Bruce Banner's arrogance and nastiness. Because
it's the same guy. The same guy turns into the green one and the gray one. It wasn't a different person turning into a Hulk.
Yes, it was just it depends on which. The Grey Hulk kind of came back, and eventually there was a point in time where it was only the Grey Hulk. Took control of the whole body, and through a magic spell, he wouldn't ever change back. So he just, and then no one knew he was the Hulk because everyone knows the Hulk is green, and he ain't Bruce Banner. He's just this Grey Hulk, and he took the name Joe Fixit and became like a mobster in Las Vegas.
The one where he's wearing the hat, right?
Yeah, he's wearing like a pinstripe suit and a hat, and he's got the little fingerless gangster gloves, and he's a big leg breaker for mob bosses in Vegas. And I was like, there's a mobster Hulk? That is awesome. I want to know more about that.
I was going to ask you that because I've seen that picture, and I was like, what is that, a cartoon? Is that a joke one, too? Or is that was a whole storyline? He became that for a while?
Yeah, there was a good run of comics where he was
But he still turns back and forth. He turns into a guy. Oh, he stays.
At that point in comics, he was...
stuck.
He had made a deal with some magician. I can't remember who it was.
Oh, that's what you just said. Sorry.
Who I just want to be me all the time. I don't want to be the green guy, the salad brain as he called him, and I don't want to be puny Banner. I want to be this, and he is that. And then that's what he does with his life is breaks legs in Las Vegas for mobsters because he's smarter than the Green Hulk. He's got more intelligence, but he's got less power. That's the trade-off. The more intelligence he retains in the Hulk form, the less powerful the Hulk form is.
Okay. Well, that's a lot. That's
and
a
there's
lot
the whole thing with the Smart Hulk. We'll talk about when we get to Endgame. That there's more about that there.
Well, I think that's enough for this episode. I need to decompress. Think all this over. I learned a lot about wedding comic books, comedy versions. I learned about the Grey Hulk, Green Hulk, and we're still only to the first hulking up in the movie. So we'll come back next episode. We'll pick up right where we are with the sad Hulk music from the 70s that shows up with One Day Without Incident. We'll talk about that next episode. But for now...
Excelsior! Nerd School out!
Later day.
Nerds roll. My glasses are broken.
Surprise me.
My pocket is protected.
Surprise me.
I'm a super nerd.
Surprise me.
Okay.
Excelsior!
I am a super nerd.
The Nerd School Podcast.